and welcome to the Opinion Pending Podcast. This is episode 2. This is Scoop over here.
Hello.
And I'm Kristie. And what do you want to talk about?
Oh God, why does life hurt so bad?
What hurts?
My spleen. Oh,
I thought you were going to reference Moon Knight.
Oh yeah, Moon Knight. Yeah,
Can you explain to me like what it is though? Like it's a Marvel thing?
Well, basically, you know how like all the Marvel movies are kind of part of the same thing, so you can't just jump in and watch one. It's intertwined, right? So basically, what they're doing now is a lot of the new shows are either progressing with a lot of the characters that have been in the shows, or the movies. So like Scarlet Witch got her own thing, and Vision, they got their own thing. And then Loki, and then Winter Soldier, and Falcon got their own show. And basically, they're also introducing some new characters. So one of those is Moon Knight. And yeah, I enjoyed the first episode. The second one was not as good. It got bad pretty fast, which, you know, a lot of those Marvel shows kind of do. I don't know. They're very poor quality. But poorly conceived.
But is Moon Knight like an actually established like comic book character?
Yeah, he's not one of the more like, from what I can tell, he's not the most like popular character Marvel's ever had. He's kind of Marvel's version of like Batman. But yeah, he's been a little different and like through the years. Like I know when he first started, he was basically a guy with like an alter ego like similar to Batman, and then like the longer it went, then they gave him like multiple personality disorder, so like his character's constantly flipping between different personalities in his head, which I think he's got like a couple in the comics, but in the show he only seems to have like 2. I'm not a huge comic book nerd. I don't know a lot of this stuff. That's just kind of what I've gained through osmosis. That's not the right word.
What got bad?
Oh, it's nobody acts like humans in the show.
Are they humans? They're supposed to be humans.
Yeah, it's just, well, you ever have that where you like watch a movie and the directors like obviously want something to happen, but they don't like take the time to like earn it, if that makes sense.
Do you remember that movie from forever? I don't remember what it's called, but it had like, I think it had Cara Delevingne in it, and I think Timothy Chalamet was in it. I don't know how you say it. Okay. I don't remember. No, it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't him. I don't think it was him, actually. I don't remember. But it was that movie that was like in space, and they had like tons of different alien creatures in it, like races, and it was a huge big thing, and there was tons of CGI. And
is it animated?
No, it was like real people thing. But that's what I mean. I don't think a lot of people remember this movie.
I no idea what you're talking about.
But it was basically a big, I don't even remember what. See, it didn't have a lasting impact, but it had a lot of cool effects and stuff. And you could tell that they wanted this to be like a big space adventure, like an epic thing. Uh-huh. But it kind of just didn't really work.
It just didn't catch on.
It's like the characters weren't, everything was in visuals.
Right.
And there wasn't enough going on with the actual people that you really even cared about it. You were like, "Ooh, this is pretty."
Right.
But at the end, it was kind of forgettable. Like, I can't even remember who's in it, you know?
Right.
So, kind of like that kind of concept where, like, they were obviously trying to make it big, but they focused so much on how polished it looked that they didn't make sure the story was good. Uh-huh. That kind of thing. So, I don't know if that's kind of the thing you were talking about.
I mean, not entirely. It's not so much that, like, it didn't catch on. It's just like, it's like if you have a character, right? Mm-hmm. And you know them well enough that they act a certain way. It's when they basically change how they would act in a real situation to service the story, right?
Yeah.
So like in Logan, Wolverine's like really old, and he's just not as spry as he used to be. But at the end of the movie, they want to have like an action scene with him, right? Mm-hmm. Because basically, if you had like old, this is just off the top of my head, don't know if it's a perfect example. I'm sorry if anyone's cringing out there. But basically, like, he's really old. He's not very spry anymore. He does a little bit of fighting, but it's very, like, kind of awkward. And at the beginning of the movie, like, these guys, like, carjack him and he kills them. And it's just this, like, kind of awkward brawl because the guy's, like, ancient, right? But at the end of the movie, all these, like, special op guys are, like, trying to take his daughter away, and he needs to fight them off. And it would be weird if he just, like, broke into this, like, awesome thing and just started taking guys out left and right, being as old as he is. So he, like, takes this like adrenaline serum to basically bring him to that level one last time, that kind of thing. So, like, basically as a writer, you're like, okay, I have this character, he is this certain way, and I need him to do something else, so I have to either write something into the story to help him with that and basically get that to them. But what happens is you have a lot of people who just go, well, I want the payoff, but I don't actually want to, like, put in the work to get there. And that's kind of what the second episode of Moon Knight feels like. It was just like, I don't know, like, no one acts normal. Like, for instance, there's so much to get into. Okay, basically, got the main character. He works in a gift shop at, like, a museum or something, and he sleepwalks, right? And so, like, every night he puts tape on his door, he puts sand around his bed, and he hooks himself to the bed frame, right?
Okay.
So he doesn't, like, go sleepwalking.
I mean, is he a violent sleepwalker?
Well, what turns out is that his other personality is, like, this, like, special ops guy who's, like, doing missions for this.
Oh my gosh, it's Jason Bourne.
Who's, like, doing these missions for this, like, ancient, like, Egyptian deity, right? It's really bizarre.
Oh my.
It's really bizarre. Okay, so basically he keeps waking up in weird places, and he, like, has gaps in his memory, and so he thinks he's like losing his mind. Like, he'll, like, call his boss and be like, hey, can I come into work today? And they'll be like, you haven't been in for 2 days. And he's like, what do you mean 2 days? I went to bed yesterday, right? that kind of thing.
Oh dear.
And so he keeps finding stuff. Like, he finds this, like, bunker kind of thing where he's got a bag, like, full of, like, guns and stuff. And, you know, he's not a violent guy. At least that persona is. So he's like, what the heck's going on, right? And he finds, like, a cell phone where there's one, like, lady's name in there. So he, like, clicks it. And it turns out to be his wife, and that she hasn't talked to him in, like, 3 months. Right?
Uh-huh.
Right? And so the thing that bugged me was that, like, she shows up, right? Because she tracks his phone. And she's like, why you give me this weird accent, right? Uh-huh. Because his other persona has, like, an American accent, and then this one has, I think, like a British accent, right? And she's like, what are you doing? Like, why you give me this, like, weird accent?
So she's currently talking to...
Yeah, it's
default personality.
I can't remember the names. I think Steven is, like, the British one, and then I don't remember the name of the other persona. I'm not sure, but and what ends up happening is she, like, shows up. Yeah, she's like, I tracked your phone, and then she, like, gets there, and he's like, I don't know who you are, lady. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are at all, right? And then she's like she's not fazed by this, like, at all, right? And the reason that annoys me is because it gets revealed later that, like, she knows Moon Knight is Moon Knight. Like, she knows that he gets powers from, like, a deity and, like, fights mythical creatures and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And she just doesn't even care that he's acting really weird and that he's, like, speaking with a different accent and is, like, he doesn't know who she is. And she's not, like, red flags going off. She's just like, oh, you're just being weird. Like, why are you being so weird, bro? I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, wouldn't you be like, oh my god, my husband got cursed by, like, some creature. Oh my god. But
yeah,
no,
I mean,
just
if you had the context, I think I would be a little more... You know, be like, oh, maybe you should talk to somebody.
Yeah, she shows up. She goes, anyways, here's the divorce papers.
What?
I'm like, what?
Did she not try to find him for 3 months?
I don't know. See, that's the thing.
Maybe she's sus. Maybe she's the bad guy and it'll be revealed.
And again, this is just off the top of my memory. I'm probably getting some things wrong. But I just remember being like, so you haven't talked to him in 3 months. And the only reason that you have tracked him down and he's being extremely weird is just to give him divorce papers? Like, okay.
Seems a little messy.
Yeah, there's a lot more that I could go into. I don't know if I want to because, like I said, I don't remember this.
That's just episode 2.
Yeah, episode 1 was cool. It had a good setup, and I like the. I don't know. Well, I like the first one. Just I don't know. Everything seemed cool. I like the concept. I like I think it's Oscar Isaac. He has a really good performance. I like him as an actor. But yeah, the concept seemed cool. And then like the second episode just kind of was like, well, anyways, enough of good television. Let's go back to shitty television. I was like, oh, okay.
That kind of ties back into the stuff we were talking about earlier.
What?
Like off mic when we were talking about morality and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of seeps into this kind of stuff because if you create characters with specific backgrounds and beliefs,
mm-hmm.
and then you try to push a completely different direction all of a sudden that doesn't make sense with their established, belief system, then it's really kind of weird.
Yeah, it actually kind of makes immoral characters too, like because they did that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They made I'm just gonna call him Falcon because I can't remember his name right now. But, like, they kind of made him a bad person. Like,
was it the one that was, like, lecturing the mayor?
Yeah. At the end of that, the do better senator line that everyone's been memeing about is, like, in the movies.
Oh,
like,
senator, yeah.
Yeah, he was, like, a good guy, like, good, decent guy, and, like, did a lot of heroic stuff. But, yeah, in the show, oh, boy. The snap happens, and then... like all the people, like half the population disappear. That goes on for like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
And then they snap and all the people come back. Mm-hmm. And then you see how that could be a problem because suddenly life has adjusted to half the population being gone. And then immediately half the population goes back, right? That's not good because like it's just as a government, you're like, how are we supposed to deal with that? Like at all. Like we don't have the proper housing anymore. We don't have proper food anymore. What do we do with all these people? Right. So the main villain is basically like, we have all these like supply problems and stuff. So we're going to like commit terrorism to get our way. Right.
Okay.
She burns a bus full of people, kills them. Right.
Wait, who did that?
I don't remember her name. The villain they're going after, the redhead. I don't remember.
But Wanda? Was it Wanda?
No,
Wanda did something.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll get to her.
Sounds like why she's got red hair.
Oh my goodness, Wanda! Why Wanda? I really liked Wanda. Why'd they do that to Wanda? Anywho,
I saw memes of her. She was like complaining, like, "Why are you guys going after me? Why are you blaming me for this? You held a whole town captive." Like,
just a small tangent on that. Like. She captures a city and she has like a barrier around the city to hold everyone in it in her like little mind palace thing she's got going on. The government shows up to try to save the people because of course the government does. Yeah. And then she comes out because they like keep sending drones or stuff in and it's pissing her off because she's like, you're breaking my illusion, stop it. And he comes out and I don't even remember the conversation between them, but he's basically like, you're being a bitch. Stop, right? and she basically just goes, well, you're the one with the guns. I'm like, what's your point? Like, what do you want me to do? You got
mind guns, lady.
Yeah. Can you imagine like some guy has like a school under his control. He's like, follow my demands. And then the fucking like SWAT team shows up and they're like, you're being bad. You need to stop doing that. He's like, well, you're the one with the guns. It's like, of course we're the fucking ones with the guns. We're going to shoot you.
Just imagine if there was like a whole remake of Independence Day.
Yeah. And the aliens are just
the aliens are offended.
Guns.
They're offended that we're attacking them when they like their weapons aren't like shooting at us, but they're like, they're gonna like set their spaceship down on top of everybody, and they're mad because we pointed something at them. They're like, you can't do that.
Yeah,
that's violent.
It's like later revealed in the show WandaVision that like everyone under her control is actually like suffering. Like she has all this like PTSD and stuff, and because she's mind controlling everybody, all of that like pain and stress goes to everybody, like all the time.
Ultimate reason for doing that was to live in a nicer place for herself, where she had her husband, right?
Yeah, and like I thought that the show was gonna be she doesn't even know that she's doing this to people, right? But like as the show goes on, it basically is just like, yeah, she's 100% aware of what she's doing. And I'm like, that's terrible. Like, because I thought what the show was going to be, which a lot of people did, thought that it was going to be like some Marvel villain who's got like, you know, similar powers, who was like controlling her behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, she was like trapped in this alternate
she doesn't know
thing.
what she's doing. She's like literally being manipulated. Because like the main villainous lady, like Agatha, like she comes out on like episode 7 or something with that stupid "it was Agatha all along," and to this day I don't know what that means. Because it just goes, "it was Agatha all along." I'm like, but everything that happened was Wanda putting everyone under mind control and then like just making everybody do what she wanted. What did you do? Like, you've just been here. You haven't done anything.
Do you think like the ultimate thing they were trying to go for, like a sympathetic kind of villain kind of thing? You know, like trying to do like an anti-hero. You know, where like they're good but they're kind of bad. But they have good reasons for being bad because they have so much trauma. But then you're like, but they're trying to be good, but they do it through bad things.
I honestly,
like trying
I don't
to make
know.
the most nuanced.
I mean, I think they were obviously trying to make her sympathetic, right?
Yeah.
Like, people can only like take so much, if that makes sense. Like, it's like that's what a lot of good villains kind of. You have like an idea of what they want to do and why they want to do it, so like you get what they're doing. But at the same time, you can't just be like, well, it's okay. I mean, he had a bad childhood. He was hurt a lot as a kid, so it's okay if he wants to go and shoot people. You know, you have to draw a line somewhere. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of people with bad childhoods.
Oh, yeah. And well, it's the same thing with Thanos. It's like Thanos is a good villain, and you get why he wants to do what he's doing. But at the same time, you're like, well, I also don't want you to kill half of everything, right. So how about we don't, you know? And,
like, a lot of people have lost their loved ones in traumatic ways, and don't go take over whole cities.
Yeah, it's just... And that's kind of the thing about Wanda that bugs me the most, is because Wanda's character in the movies, if it came out that she was doing this and she didn't know she was doing this, she would turn herself in, because that's what a hero would do. Because they're like, I have all this power, I'm hurting people with it, I need you to stop me. And that works if it's like someone behind the scenes like manipulating her, or it's just like she had a traumatic experience and she doesn't know that she's doing this, and then like, I don't know, like Doctor Strange comes in and like tries to like magic it all away or whatever. But it's like, oh yeah, she knows what's going on, she's hurting all these people, she thinks it's okay. Well, anyways, that's not Wanda anymore. So, you know, the Wanda that you really liked in the movies, well, this isn't her, this is just a cheap imitation of her.
You know what it kind of makes me think of? I feel like it just kind of sends an awful message, because she kind of goes off the deep end without vision, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, and the other thing, I don't know if the What If series is actually related at all to, like, anything canon. Probably not. But there's the one episode of the What If MCU thing with the zombies, right?
Yeah.
And the whole end thing where, spoilers, where they, like, try to go to the epicenter thing, that one spot that's safe or whatever, and then Vision's there.
Right.
And he's like, tricks them, and he's gonna feed them to Wanda's zombie.
Yeah.
And then at the very last minute, he's like, oh no, I realize this is wrong. We're not gonna do this anymore. Because the head in the jar said something, or I don't know. Yeah, it was weird. But it's like, even in the other things, they kind of go crazy they do crazy things for each other, it seems like.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that really seems like it would make sense for him. I feel like...
he's like
he's a lot more logical.
Yeah, he's like Q... Is it Q? No, he's like Data. Yeah. From like Star Trek, and he's kind of like Spock in that way, where he's just very analytical. He weighs a lot of options. He's very like, this will happen if this happens.
He literally sacrificed himself for the good of humanity in Infinity War.
Yeah, he's like, Wanda, why don't you he's like, you need to kill me. Like, you need to kill me because I need to save all these people. It seems out of character for him to just be like, well, anyways, I'm just going to start feeding people to you because that's what you would want.
My closest friends are going to feed to my zombie love interest.
Sorry, Spider-Man, I'm in love.
Like, I'm sorry, but she needs to feed.
Yeah.
It's like, that was a little much. And I feel like that kind of betrays his whole, and like, I guess the last minute switch more like him, but I don't think he would have ended up there in the first place.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just what I'm talking in general, where it's like you have an established character and they act one way, but then it's like you need to kind of break the plot because you want a specific payoff. That doesn't work. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what I'm saying with the snap, right? Mm-hmm. How like it would be a very big problem to have half the population snap away and then suddenly have them back, right? And how if you were a government and you didn't know that was happening or you didn't have any prep time, that's really bad because you don't know what to do, right? The way it is in the MCU now, it basically establishes that the Avengers did not take the time to tell anybody they were doing this.
That kind of jives with their past actions, though. That's kind of what they had the whole Civil War argument thing about, because, you know, Tony was like, we don't consider our actions before we do them, and we cause so much damage to everybody all the time, and we never consider that. We never fix it. We just destroy things while we're trying to save things. And the rest of them were like, it's necessary. And then, so it kind of jives a little bit with how they've been acting. They don't really think about all the aftermath of everything before they do it. See,
that's because if you watch Tony throughout the series, every time he fails at something, his next project takes that into account. So,
I think he might have been a little bit overridden with because he was in a bad state after the 5 years. Mm-hmm, yeah. And he was probably more eager to just try to get people back than to actually think about the rest of it.
In my opinion, it's just kind of an indictment on them all because, like, not one of them in the room was like, hey, maybe we should give a heads up to the world that we're going to drop this human bomb on everybody because, like...
They would have had to have a whole other hour if they did that.
I mean, just like a note, like a handwritten note, like, hey, we're probably going to bring everybody back, just so you know.
Hulk write it and just, like, go do your thing. Just do dear president.
I don't know. It just seems out of character, especially for, like, Iron Man and Captain, well, pretty much everybody, but especially Iron Man, because every single time there's a problem, he's like, okay, we got to take that into account next time. We have to be safer next time. We need to, you know, it's just like little details I like how, there were some really good ones, but I can't think of them right now because I have not slept in forever. I haven't eaten in a long time. I am dehydrated. I'm malnourished. I lack sleep. I'm fine. I'm just talking out my ass here.
I'm fine. He is on the floor.
I'm completely fine, everybody. Anywho, I'll be on the floor right here. Oh yeah, because like, in Civil War he fights Bucky and Captain America, and it's hand-to-hand combat, and then in the next movie he makes his suit so it's able to have knives for hand-to-hand combat because he learns from his mistakes. I took that from a YouTube video that I saw. The guy who does those little did you know movie things, that guy's cool. But yeah, he had a few examples in there that I really liked. I can't think of anything right now because I'm fucking dying, but my brain's imploding.
You wanted to record, man.
I did. I was so excited. Anywho, yeah, it just seems like a weird oversight for like all the Avengers to be like, hey, this could cause a lot of problems. Maybe we should, you know, have a meeting. Nah, it'd be fine.
Yeah, cause like especially if you're messing with like time travel, it seems like if you're gonna do anything, the best thing to do would be to
not do it.
Reset time, like go back to a time before the thing happened and then do the thing differently.
I do not.
And not
oh my goodness. Time travel.
Reverse that thing and keep everything else the same. Because at least then you wouldn't have the problem. I know it's not ideal, but it's still a better ending for everyone else in that world.
Yeah. Time travel seems to be such a, like, I'm not going to say you can't use time travel because there's rules to everything that can be bent, and people who are talented enough can make them. Like Terminator's really good. They put the time travel in there, they move past it, they get into all the cool action stuff. You don't have to think about it too much. But time travel is really good at breaking movies because, I mean, every single movie you watch is not real, right?
Yeah.
The people in it can be real from like history and stuff, but for the most part, like fake people in
or real people in fake or
in
exaggerated situations.
In hypothetical scenarios, dealing with tension that doesn't exist, right? And the fastest way to get somebody not invested is to just take away all their tension, right? It's when you watch a movie and you know the main character is not in any danger and they're going to be completely fine because they have whatever coming up, right? It's like that's the fastest way to get someone out of your movie if you're just like, oh yeah, they'll be fine. You're like, you don't need to worry about them. It's like, why would you worry about them? We don't worry about them, right?
I think that for the most part, like I like some movies that have time travel, but I think maybe the problem is that a lot of movies use time travel as a band-aid. Like, it's like there's an issue and we can fix it by using time travel. Right. And we can go back and change this and they'll fix it. Oh, that made another problem. Let's go back again and change that problem. And I think if you use time travel in your story as a tool, it's not going to work most of the time. I mean, it can there's always exceptions, but most time it doesn't work out very well. But if you treat it more as its own character, where it has its own limitations and its own way that it works, then it would probably be a lot better, because you have to adhere to these things and you won't end up with this thing that always changes its own belief system and rules. Like, you treat it as its own being, and you'd probably be a lot better off.
Yeah, I know I think, because I know the Back to the Future movies do it pretty well, but I think most of the story from that comes from the novelty of time travel, if that makes sense. It comes from all the weird situations he lands in. And it also sets up stakes where it's like you can time travel, but they need to reach these requirements. So,
or you like literally will disappear.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of how they get away with it, where it's because if you just had like a button on your wrist where you can just time travel wherever, those movies
like
wouldn't have the same.
Rick and Morty. You just have a portal gun.
Although, I mean, Rick and Morty seems to be more about like the nihilism of everything, so I guess that's fine for them to have that, because
they're not taking it too seriously.
The entire point of like Rick seems to be nothing matters, so everything is kind of anticlimactic in that world, because I don't know. Kind of seems
but
what
I mean, if
you
took his tool and put it in a different space where things do matter, then it's like just kind of like a undo button,
right? And that's it's just it can kill movies pretty fast, especially if you take a long time to just think about it, because then you get into the whole like, well, if that happened, then wouldn't that mean that this didn't happen and he never got the thing and this never happened? And it just kind of gets into this like, it takes you out of the movie where you don't want to be. The guy who made the movie wants you to be watching the movie, invested in the movie. He doesn't want you sitting there going, well, that's not a good movie. You know, that's like the worst nightmare for someone who wants you to be invested in the movie. That always
kind of sucks. So there have been movies that I've liked when I watched them, because I wasn't really thinking about it when I was watching it. I was just watching, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And then later on, I'm like, wait a minute. This doesn't line up, because if he did that, then why was he able to do that if he went back before this thing and changed that? Then that thing didn't happen, and if he does redo that, then that makes that not possible in the first place. And then I'm like, oh, maybe it wasn't so good, and I get disappointed.
I think that's what I was talking about with the whole Moon Knight thing, is that you want your characters to act in accordance to how they're characterized and the world around them. And so when they don't, it takes you out of the performance, right? So when you have Moon Knight's wife show up and be like, well, anyways, you're just acting weird. Well, okay. Anyways, here's your divorce papers. You're like, well, now I'm not in this anymore, because that doesn't make any sense.
Well, do you think it's a problem of the main character? Well, is the main guy with the personalities Moon Knight, or is he someone else?
Moon Knight is just the superhero persona that he kind of puts on, from what I can tell.
He is that guy?
Yeah.
Right? Kind of.
It's weird because each persona has their different version of Moon Knight, kind of. Okay.
But he is that, like, physical being that is those people. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, he is the person that is those identities.
Yes, the person has multiple personality disorder. He's got both.
He is the one that is every version of Moon Knight.
Yes.
Right. So they're all his physical body.
Yes.
Right. That's what I mean.
I mean, he's got obviously healing factors and shit like that, but yeah.
But do you think that it's an issue because it's only been like 2 episodes, right?
Right. 3 today, I think. I haven't watched it yet.
Do you think that the problem comes from like you said, like people not making sense in the situation? Or do you think it's that the show hasn't gone long enough for their characters to actually be established to know what they would react like? Because maybe she's just that kind of weird person who is oblivious to red flags, and you just haven't known her character well enough to learn that yet. And you know what I mean? Because in 2 episodes, maybe she's just like that.
Maybe she's just dumb, right? Who knows?
There are dumb people in things.
No, her character's definitely the kind of...
They give you enough context for her, I mean.
Yeah, they give you enough context to basically be like, yeah, that's bizarre. That's an odd behavior for her to have, considering the situation. Yeah, especially because, like, he literally gets his powers from this, like, ancient deity, right? Mm-hmm. And she's not fazed by that, right? Because she's married to him. She obviously knows. And so, like, for her to not be like, oh, you're acting weird. And we were, like,
something must have happened if they're getting divorced.
Well, yeah, but, like...
Like, maybe he was acting weird a long time ago, and that's what spurred this whole thing. And she was like...
Well, no, she literally shows up in the episode being like, you're acting bizarre. Like, that's not your accent. You're not British. Why are you talking like that kind of stuff? And it's like, so this persona is obviously very new to her. And it's like... Well, so you don't care that you're... Okay, whatever.
Maybe she doesn't care. Maybe whatever the reason for the divorce is that she just finds him so obnoxious that she just has no cares for him at all anymore. She's like, you're acting weird, but you know what? Power to you. Bye. You're the crazy ex now.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff in that.
I think I would still, knowing about, like, the powers that person has, I would still be concerned.
Yeah, you'd be like, you're obviously cursed by some ancient Egyptian deity.
I don't want to be affiliated with that.
This is bizarre. Yeah, and then, like, this bug, this even happened in, like, Wonder Woman, the 1984? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, it's like the directors forget that, like, certain people are superheroes and certain people aren't. Because there's, like, a part in Moon Knight where this jackal creature is, like, throwing people around, and, like, he's fighting Moon Knight, and Moon Knight gets, like, slammed into a car, and then the dog just, like, hits her, and she goes flying into a brick wall, and she's fine. And I'm like, Moon Knight's the superhero with the superpowers. You're not. Why aren't you dead? Like, what happened to you?
Can you imagine they should make a superhero thing where people actually die? And the only thing I can think of is the series Invincible.
Oh, yeah.
You watched that on Amazon? It's animated.
I did, yeah. I saw some clips on YouTube.
Because people literally will die very easily if something happens to them.
Yeah, there's a lot of death in that show.
Yeah, there is. Oh, man.
Oh, boy. Whew.
But, like, it's realistic. Like, he gets slapped in the head with this alien rifle. You're dead.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get flung around like a little rag doll and you bounce back up. Nope.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everyone dies.
It's just, well, see, it's weird because you think if you're choreographing a fight, right? Like, that's obviously a stunt being done. Like, this lady being thrown into a wall is not actually happening. Right. It's a stunt for people who are doing the show. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody on set was like, that don't make no sense. Like,
they just wanted to look cool. This was kind of talk about standards of morality.
Did we ever get to that?
Well, it kind of was, because we're talking about the standards of the storytelling and how people go against what makes sense for them, the characters.
Yeah.
And, like, how their actions don't fit what they're supposed to be, and how that makes for bad stories, because it's just confusing and, it doesn't fit. And it kind of echoed through all of it.
Yeah, it was
so it kind of
very thin line between everything.
But that's a thing that will span everything all the time anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, isn't that pretty much all storytelling is just trying to convey ideas between people?
Yeah, but not everything is about this person believes a thing and they should operate within those beliefs.
Right.
So that's kind of universal, I guess.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's why it's interesting, because it goes with everything.
Yeah, pretty much. You can't have the sandwich without the bread, am I right? I haven't slept. I'm very tired.
Anyways, on that note.
Anywho.
Do you know when your thing might be done?
No clue. I've been...
Because I don't know if I need to start thinking up more topics in the meantime.
I just play it kind of loose. We'll see how it goes.
We gotta start narrowing it down, though, so we can find our people.
Where are you? I know you're out there.
Yeah. Well,
okay,
I think this was I think I had fun. It was not any specific topic, but I think it was a nice little span.
Yeah.
And it was kind of just flowing.
Okay,
anyway, on that note, Scoop has got to go take a nap. And get some food, maybe, and then take a nap. So, thanks for tuning in to the second episode of Opinion Pending Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.